join me, and looks like they may be having technical difficulties, or they're having issues with life, maybe. Anyway, let's get started. First thing I want you to know is that somewhere when you're watching this, you can ask questions, and I appreciate that you ask questions. You know, after the first time that I did this with demystifying relationships, I felt a little bit like a talking head, but then I thought about it, and are talking heads that bad when we're talking about stuff like this compared to the stuff that is like broadcast everywhere? The YMCA has CNN on and Fox News, and it's just talking head, talking head, talking head, and what are they talking about? Just giving their opinions about things. So I don't mind doing it this way, and so if anybody that's watching this or watches this video later wants to be part of these, I appreciate to have discussion that's not divisive, discussion that is different, discussion that is open, and basically stuff that we can all chew on. And it's all about that. We all show up here to, you know, in perfection to possibly get something from something like this. So again, as you come in, I see that other people are coming in. You can submit questions, you can ask for clarifications, go on and on, whatever you want to type into that little question thing, or make snide remarks, that works as well. Anyway, I'm going to get started tonight, and tonight is about how to live with unmitigated joy. And there is a big distinction between joy and happiness that I'm going to make, and it might seem superfluous to make this distinction, but it's very important when it comes to when it comes to life and how we go about it. People that are watching this are probably people that are looking to deepen in their spirituality and see more meaning than what the cultural narrative tells us. And so the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight is going to go right down that alley. It's going to talk about, you know, what is the cultural narrative that we have going on, and then how can we deepen into our spirituality, whatever flavor you go with. So I want to make the distinction between joy and I just got a question. Oh, they're going to try to come back on again. Anyway, so joy versus happiness. Happiness, we get the word happiness, its etymology comes from the word happenstance. And so our culture is relegated to happiness or happenstance, that a circumstance makes us happy. And so this means that there has to be some kind of circumstance that helps us be happy. Notice, and this is so important in life and in deepening, is to notice the words that people say, or the words that we say ourselves. And one of the cliches that we say is, "Oh, that made me very happy," or "what, you know, something, getting a present," or something like that. And so the word happiness comes from happenstance, and it requires a circumstance in order to be happy. Joy, on the other hand, is different, and I have a quote from Evan Hodkins, and it is, "Joy is not an emotion, it is a sacred invasion." It's a completely different aspect to life to live in joy. Joy comes from within us. It isn't that we collect joy. Joy is already within us, and it's experienced through us. And that's a big distinction to make, because there's something in our cultural narrative which I call the happiness gap, which means that we live from happy moment to happy moment. And for some people, happiness is, you know, they may spend 8 to 10 hours a day at a job working in order to make money, in order to buy an experience or to buy things that will make them happy. So they'll put in their time, they'll get through the grind in order to be happy, and these are these happy stances. And so our culture only sees this as the right way to live, is that you are supposed to suffer in order to get to some point where you can have happy circumstances happen in your life. And so I want to talk about joy. Joy is different. Joy is what we are made of. It is our essence. And experiencing joy is a lot different than, well, I don't want to say it's a lot different from happiness, but where it comes from is different than happiness. Joy, we experience joy. And I had another quote by Rumi. When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy. So joy is to the soul as happiness is to the ego. And so let's talk a little bit about how you experience joy. And I'll give you just a very quick story of something that I do in my life, and this is before I even knew the distinction between joy and happiness, was that ever since my daughter was very young, I've always tried, when we were driving, I've always tried to extrovert her attention to the outside world. And so as we're driving, I'll point to Pikes Peak and I'll say, "Oh, sweetie, do you see Pikes Peak today? Isn't it beautiful?" And she'll look at it and she'll say, "Yeah, Dad. Oh, wow, that's beautiful." And now she's so trained by this that as we're driving, she will point at something, or she'll just mention the weather, or she comes up with something that extroverts her attention, and she creates an experience that unlocks joy that's already within her. And so another way that we unlock joy is, is by surprise. And another good definition for a cynic is somebody that refuses to be surprised. A cynic is somebody who refuses to be surprised. And so they'll say things like, "What else did you expect?" So in order to experience joy, we must be willing to be surprised and to live in a way that we can be surprised. And to open that up, it should be part of our prayers, is what is going to happen? What is going to happen to me today that I'm not expecting? Because if we think that every prayer we have, if I want a green pen, God may not send a green pen. Who knows what God might send, but if you start watching, and I could get off on a tangent there, but so it is open. It's opening that mystical ability to be open, to be surprised. And so there's a story about a man who goes to a water, or one of those water spouts, and where you pump it, it's like from a well, and there's a sign on it that says, it has instructions, and the instructions say, "You will dig right below this sign, and out from in there you will dig up and find a little vessel filled with water. You'll take that vessel, you'll use that water in order to prime the pump in order to get more water. to come out of the well. After you've had your fill of water, please fill the vessel back up and replace it and cover it back up. And in this way, not only are you an agent for surprise, but you are also a giver of it. And so we can also be, be instigators of surprise in people's life, and I like to call it love mischief. And sorry, I sit on one of those yoga balls. Are they called a yoga ball? I'm not sure. Okay, so we kind of have an idea of the distinction between joy and happiness and how important they are. And if you're like me, you've already started to experience this, and you are out in the world collecting joy. And there's an interesting thing that happens in the world, and I just want to mention this. I was reading something off somebody's experience they have about doing their affirmations, and they leave they have affirmations all over their mirror, all these positive things. But they find themselves, whenever they have somebody coming over that doesn't understand this stuff, they find themselves pulling the affirmations down every time. And the reason they feel this way is they feel like this culture thinks it's a negative to have these positives. And it's very true. Our culture is absolutely inundated and baked through with the idea of the happiness gap. And so they expect, most people expect that people are going to, if they're at the store, they are going to be a zombie and not enjoying life. If they are at their work, they are a zombie and they are not supposed to enjoy themselves. And so people that actually learn to experience joy in everything that they do, they fill in these happiness gaps and allow joy to come in, actually look odd, because our cultural narrative does not allow the premise of people being happy all the time or being joyful, in our new words. And so here's what I want to say about that is, when somebody's happy, and especially for no reason, if you're in a Starbucks or if you're at a grocery store or if you're experiencing life in these happiness gap times when it's not acceptable, what it comes across as to other people in our culture is arrogance. And the thing is that our culture, our divisive nature that's baked into our culture, is that we get these crap detectors for arrogance. So any kind of arrogance is, we have, anybody that doesn't fit in or whatever, or seems arrogant, comes across as arrogant, people's crap detectors go off. And the problem with this is arrogance is to the ego as magnificence is to the soul. And so this is an incredible distinction, because as we enter and we release joy, this is our soul expressing in the world. We're not arrogant. We are magnificent. And we are processing our magnificence into the world. And so that's a big distinction, because if you flip it around on the person that may be judging you for being positive or having these things, they just don't know you well enough yet. And so, yes, I come across it oftentimes as being arrogant, even though I'm just experiencing joy and I'm allowing my soul to express in the world. And so you kind of have to get used to that and understand that when I'm sorry, I could actually see the face that I get sometimes in my joy. When I'm experiencing joy, I can actually see the face that comes along people, that judgmental face of, hey, he's way too happy, he's got to be on something or smoking something or whatever. And I just have this little bell now that says they just don't know. They're not awake. They don't know. They don't understand that they can live this way too. That's what I love about people, is people believe they're reality experts. I know I thought I was a reality expert. I knew what reality was, and I wanted to force everybody into my reality. But the truth is that we can choose our reality. And so I hope that you're out there choosing your reality. All right. I haven't got any other questions. If anybody has any other questions, I'd like to answer them for you. I have a few other little quotations I'd like to share with you, and then I'll probably jump off if we don't have anything else to add. Oh, here's I'll give you one other way that that I had noted for experiencing joy, and I think this is so important, and this is the most important thing that I do within my work as a psychotherapist, as a soul mentor or a soul friend, is we have to look at life as an adventure. And we can look at people who are depressed or people who commit suicide. They're people that just gave up on the idea of life as an adventure, and they saw it as something else. And so when we affirm to ourselves that life is an adventure, that all these bad things are happening to us, you're just not on board with the idea that life's an adventure. Not everything's going to turn out exactly the way that we would like it to be. But in truth, when we pay attention, as an alchemist, I know that what seems to be a catastrophe in one sense at the time actually becomes something good and something that I can take into my own awakening from my experiences. So find light in everything that you do, and that's the important thing. If you're sitting looking at a computer screen like I am right now all day long, take time to look away, extrovert your attention. Look for gratitude. Gratitude's a wonderful place to awaken joy within ourselves. All right, I'm going to give you a few other ideas, or some quotes that I really like about joy. Larger than the wren himself, the wren's joy. This one I really like. Joy is feather light, but who can carry it? Think about that. That's a good one, huh? In this one, some folks get more pleasure out of a teaspoon of beer than a slob that drinks from a case, or drinks the whole case. So think about that one for a little bit. And as you, these are my departing words, and I'm going to leave you with one quote. If you decide to jump on board life as an adventure, you're creating your story. And what if God is not waiting for us for some kind of judgment on what we did or didn't do? But what if God is just waiting for us to come to Him or her with a story, with our story? The bigger, the better story. So I'll leave you with this last quote, and I will bid you adieu. And I also like to mention that if you like these live streams, or if you're watching this afterwards, please let me, give me feedback. I always like feedback. If you want more information, or if you want to know something about a particular topic, I like to talk, And if you'd rather have this talking head than some Fox News or CNN talking head talking to you, then please, I invite your requests. And I'll leave you with this last quote. Our lives are streams flowing into the same river towards whatever heaven lies in the midst beyond the falls. Find the joy in your life. Close your eyes and let the waters take you home. That's from the Bucket List movie. Thank you. Have a great night.